It feels the same as waiting for a long SAP report to start running to get to get displayed. Okay,
that's a professional joke.
Okay, let's start. And first of all, thank you for joining us. We have some exciting things to show you today, and what's more exciting than the time machine? My name is Rafi Horish, and I'm the CEO of DPro. Let me just share my screen, and we'll start this webinar. Can you see my screen? Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. What is our agenda today? Our agenda includes an overview of SAP strength and what makes it the choice of the world's leading organizations. We will talk about SAP limitations. We'll spend about 3 minutes on the Inside Zap platform, and then we'll jump into the use cases and the demos of the SAP Time Machine. If you have any questions during the webinar, please post them on the chat, and we'll try and answer them during the presentations. SAP ERP is by far the most deep and profound ERP system in the world. It's the benchmark against other ERP systems are compared, and why is that? It's because SAP evolved over 5 decades. Tens of thousands of developers spent billions of man-hours in order to perfect the reports and business processes. SAP has hundreds of thousands of customers that all contributed their needs and knowledge to the platform as we see it today. There are many ERP systems out there, but for the big organizations, SAP was and still is the only option. Many ERP systems offer far better user experience than SAP and quick implementation of common business processes. But when growing up, corporates introduce more complex business processes that other ERP systems simply cannot cope with. Just some examples for complex business processes are intercompany processes, multi-currency scenarios, and global supply chain management. With all these advantages, there are still issues around SAP to take care of. The main areas where SAP is not catching up with the future, so to speak, are data, parsing, manipulating, refining information, presentation, analyzing and visualizing content, collaboration, sharing data, collaborating between users, automations, creating automated data flows, and basically anything that does not come in the SAP package. In order to overcome these deficiencies, organizations running SAP resort to app development, BI tools, Excels, or a combination of these three. And each of these solutions has its downsides, because when we're moving away from SAP, organizations incur undesirable outcomes, such as losing operational aspects, data discrepancies, time delays, security risks, and others. We will not get into these topics due to time constraints, but they are really out there. So closing the gap between SAP and the future is too big of a challenge to handle in a single session. In this webinar, we will concentrate only on 3 specific things that are currently impossible in SAP. And these are instantaneously displaying heavy reports that take minutes to run in SAP. It's impossible to travel back in time to view reports as they appeared in the past. This is something that is common to all ERP systems. These are real-time systems. It's impossible to merge data from 2 standard reports. This is something that we will see in our demo here. We will show these things and how they can be achieved within SAP in minutes without codes and directly on production. Before we get to the solution, let's try and see if these are real problems. Let's try and assess the cost both in time and money organizations incur as a result of these issues. For example, what is the cost of waiting 4 or 5 minutes till a heavy SAP report appears? There are, of course, the 4 or 5 minutes a few times a day and per specific users. So if we take roughly 20 minutes a day per users and we take 10 users, we're losing about 3.5 hours a day. But waiting for minutes for data is not applicable and not acceptable in the new digital world. Not to mention the limited attention span of people these days who tend to move to other things, more attractive topics when idling. There's also an issue of denial of service. When a large number of users invoke heavy reports, precious dialogue threads are being used. By exhausting these dialogue threads, these organizations have to invest in stronger and more expensive applications. It is also worthwhile to note that when a heavy report finally manifests itself, it's far from being a real-time report because it's already 4 to 5 minutes old. So let's get back to the topic of heavy reports. What are the current solutions? In most cases, organizations tend to move slow reports to BI systems or outside of SAP. So what can go wrong with this action? First and foremost, we should question if standard SAP reports can be so easily replicated. The logic of SAP standard reports was perfected over decades of repeated cycles of bugs and fixes. And let me assure you that you'll find discrepancies between the SAP reports and BI reports in 100% of the reports generated by BI systems. If you haven't seen them, that's just because you didn't find them yet. The second issue is that end users are now doomed to live, so to speak, in two worlds simultaneously. The BI tool and any BI tool lives outside the SAP grid. So the ability to navigate from one SAP business entity to another, for example, a PO information, is not available anymore to the business end users. Users will have to work with multiple systems and screens and need to sync their two worlds time and time again. Another important issue is that BI tools are analytical, while SAP is operational. SAP business end users use SAP to update entities, to create purchase orders, pay invoices, and close lines of credit, just to list a few. This cannot be done from a BI report. So this brings us up to the Inside Zap platform. Inside Zap is basically a virtual layer residing inside SAP. It has two major components, the creator and the publisher, that work together. Imagine Excel-like functionalities plus publishing plus automation, all of that inside SAP, on production with no codes and capabilities to manifest any report or process as a Fiori app by a press of a button. The Inside Creator allows us to create reports, business processes, workflows, and operational data dashboards with no codes, on production, and in minutes. User can format reports manually or automatically, add content from other sources and tables, add graphics, groupings, add user inputs as free text, dates, checkboxes for approvals, and much more. The Creator also allows users to add function buttons and apply business APIs easily from anywhere within the platform. The Inside Publisher enables you to bring in data from external sources and publish reports in push, pull, or alert modes. These reports can be shared with people in the organization and external entities, such as BI systems, vendors, etc. This can be done automatically, again, in minutes with no code. The publisher works with all types of medias, email, files, FTPs, SMSs, snapshots, Fiori notifications, you name it. And when the user gets the report, he can click on it. And if he's logged into SAP, he can drill down to the actual PO report, for example. The Creator and Publisher are both great tools, each providing a unique and unparalleled capability. But when combining them together, we get synergy that multiplies their strength. So this is the greatness of Inside Zap. And with that in mind, it's time to go to the use cases and demo. And for these, I would like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Avi Mishan. Avi is the brains behind Inside Zap. He has over 25 years of experience in SAP ERP planning and development. So Avi, please do your magic.
Okay. Thank you, Rafi. Rafi, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Oh.
Thank you.
So thank you again, Rafi. Hello, everybody. let's talk about inside Zap Snapshots. So publisher, being the foreign minister of inside Zap platform, allows the publishing of SAP reports in any media and any format. For example, emailing an Excel file, saving a JSON into the file directory, or sending a text file via FTP. When we talk about available publisher media, the distribution methods, we can easily think of email, SMS, FTP, file directory, or even Fiori notifications. But what prevents us from publishing content internally for later use? So do welcome publisher snapshots, a distribution method that allows to take a snapshot of report results and save them for future use. Like other distribution methods of publisher, snapshot could be originated from an SAP report, customer report, Zap Reports, ABAP query, database table, view, CDS, or even an Excel file. From technology point of view, saving a snapshot is equivalent to generating an Excel or HTML file. Instead of parsing the data into a file, the results, content, and structure are being saved in SAP internally. Simply put, publisher saves all snapshots in two SAP database tables, one for the data and one for the metadata. To display the content of a specific snapshot, publisher pulls the snapshot data and the snapshot metadata, the structure, and parse them together in runtime. By the same token, inside Zap creators are able to VLOOKUP, to table lookup a snapshot, just like they do with DB lookup database tables. Okay, give me a second. The table lookup is a column type in inside Zap creator. Just like DB lookup, the creator specifies as the snapshot key, which is just like the database table, and the field, the needed field, and down below the common columns by which the where clause is being executed. Okay. In a broader sense, the snapshot concept allows to treat any report as if it was a database table. One can now search a report, aggregate its content, or use the outcome for other purposes. This is not something to take lightly. And what about the report? What about the data, the snapshot data? It depends. It depends on the snapshot mode. If the snapshot mode uses a create new, it means that every time the publisher snapshot is being repeated, a new snapshot instance is going to be created. It should look schematically something like that. So using SAP jobs, the publisher is periodically snapshotting the content, and each invocation results in a new snapshot. This way, business end users and managers may query the various instances as if it was a time machine, and they can go back and forth a long time. And the next mode is append mode. Every snapshot content is added on top of the existing content. Makes sense. And the last mode, override last, save only the content of the last snapshotting, deleting all previous content altogether. And with this in mind, let's talk about data merge. Okay, so as said, one should look at snapshot as a collection of virtual database tables. Each has a predefined structure. We have two elements to play with, the snapshot content and the usages. From one end, the snapshot content is defined by the snapshot mode. On the other end, the snapshot could be used either as a data source by itself or as a mean to enrich other inside Zap creations using the table lookup column. With these two elements in mind, it's a game of mix and match to form endless number of business scenarios. In this example, we look at a simple scenario by which a slow report is being snapshotted every few minutes using the override last mode. Okay, the snapshot is used as a data source thereafter, and therefore users may see the original slow report yet much, much faster. I will leave it as a food for your brain to think of other possibilities. We will now move to a live demo. Let me just open the system. Can you see the system?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we will start with the standard F5 transaction. Give me a second. I'm going to invoke it because it will take me some time. FBL1N. Let me pick a display variant. And I'm going to invoke it. Okay, now we have time to talk. So again, I will start with the financial transaction, FBL1N, which is the vendor line items. This transaction is often, it's a time-consuming one because the amount of data it fetches. Okay, and I specifically save the variant that fetches many, many records, and it will probably take time, and we will face now an uncomfortable silence for a while. But I think it is moving ahead. So what do we have? 100, around roughly 100,000 records, and it took the system 31.5 seconds to be invoked. Let's snapshot this report. I will open a new session. I will call publisher. I will create a new publisher job. I'm going to give it a meaningful name. And now I'm going to aim publisher on the very same transaction, FBL1N, right? I will pick the same selection variant as before. And I will use the same default display layout. And now, going down to the distribution method, I'm going to define the snapshot as the distribution method. Let me set up a meaningful snapshot key. I will give it a name, a unique number, and I'm going to create it. And I'm going to save it. Next, I'm going to set up the snapshot mode. In this case, I want to override last, namely, whenever I will snapshot FBL1N, it will override last snapshot instance. I'm saving my work because it's the first time I'm doing so. The scheduler is going to pop up. I will schedule it periodically for every 5 minutes. And that's it. Okay, as you can see, the duration over here, slowly. Okay. That couldn't be the case. That couldn't be the case. All right. That's bad enough. Oh, quickly, I'm going to do something again. Okay, guys, I'm having issues. So I'm moving to, I need this one really for the demonstration. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm in a good company, like Microsoft and stuff like that. Anyway, let me see if I have an example. So this is a good example from today or whatever. And as you can see, we have the same amount of number of records. But if I will open it, you'll see it will take the system 3 seconds to invoke. Okay, let me show you that the data is the same. In a second. And as you can see, you can compare them together and the data is the same. Okay, So this ends this part because we currently invoke the very same report, but in 10 times faster than the original one. The next scenario is going to you to take care of the create new mode. I prepared an example. I will open a new session in a second. Okay, and I will open Publisher again. And I saved a work. The name is Snapshot Daily. What I did is I took a creation, in this case, something that works with ME2N. Give me a second, I will show you the colors. So this is the creation that I wanted to snapshot on daily basis, okay? If I will go back to my work, you'll be able to see that I use create new mode, and now I can see several instances, each created on a different day, 23rd, 24th, 26th, and so forth. And if I'm I'll double click how this report look like on the 23rd, I can see these comments and stuff like that. Every day since I started to doing so, I changed the report. I changed the comments, I changed quantities and stuff like that. So now, when you press it, you'll be able to see the differences in a second. I added a comment over here, and yesterday I even changed the colors of the system. So now you can actually go back in time to any instance, to any day, you snapshot the data, and you can see how it was how it would look like back then. The last demo is going to be a full data merge scenario, A to Z. And remember the FBL1 transaction we started with? I'm going to merge its content with another report, the logistics one. Let me open Insight Creator. And I'm going to create a new instance of ME2N. I will pick a selection variant, and I take a display variant. And that's it. Let me open it. And this is ME2N. What is my goal? My goal is to bring information about the vendor from the SAP transaction FBL1N. In a second, I will. So this is the vendor, and I would like to bring data from this report. If I will sort it, you'll be able to see that each vendor has many records, and it means that I have to do some aggregation in order to get some meaningful data. Let's go back to my work. The problem is that somebody at SAP thought it makes sense to connect the vendor code along with the vendor name, so I cannot do what I wanted. So before doing that, let me extract the vendor code out of this field. I'm going to copy it quickly. I'm going to use a different data element, a vendor type. I'm going to remove the old heading, so I will get the default. And now, instead of the old content, I'm going to remove it, and using the functions, I'm going to take the left 10 most characters. So quickly, I will turn the functionality. I will look for my field. In a second. This is the field, and how many characters? I will take 10 characters, the size of the vendor in SAP. And that's it. Pretty much, I'm good to go. So I have the vendor over here. It's a real vendor. Okay. And now I want to join the data from my snapshot. And what is the name of my snapshot? The name is Slow Report 03. So I'm going back over here and I'm going to create a new column of type table lookup. Column, new, and table lookup. Over here, I'm going to specify the key, the name of the snapshot, which is something 03, slow report 03. Over here, I'm going to pick the field that I'm interested in. In this case, I would like to take the net due date. It's a really important information. So let me pick it. Net due date. Okay. Now I have to tell the system by which column or columns the join is going to take place. I will bring the vendor. Okay. And since I have a vendor data element, the system automatically mapped them together. The last thing I need is, instead of bringing any record, I'm going to bring the minimum one. Okay. So that's it. And we have information. So per this vendor, the value is 28th of August. Let me go to SAP standard report. Let me filter the data by vendor. Let me sort it by date. There you go, 28th of August. Let me do just something else. Amount in local currency. Let me check the sum. It's $21,000 and some change. To do so, I will just copy this column. It will save me time. I'm going to copy the last table lookup, and I will replace the field I'm looking for. So it's going to be amount in local currency. Okay, and instead of bringing the minimum value, I will bring the sum. Okay. Right? So this is an amazing thing, because right now I merged two reports, not even field to field. I use aggregation, and I'm 100% sure of the accuracy of the data because it's SAP's data, right? And I know that I'm talking only on open documents and whenever the standard transactions are good for. Okay, let me get back to the presentation. And this ends the part of the live demo, okay? But still, let's try to put the snapshot concept into use for various business use cases, and we are going to see how we implement them using the snapshot concept. So the first thing is slow report. We already investigated the scenario by which we speed up slow reports. In short, we can snapshot this report every 15-20 minutes using the override last mode. This way, we will have a single instance of the snapshot with the content that is periodically refreshed. We will use the snapshot as a data source for inside Zap creation. And now business end users will be able to quickly see the content of that slow report. Easy as that. Next thing is the time machine. We have seen that one as well. in case a CFO likes to see the account receivable report at every quarter's end, the account receivable report could be quarterly scheduled with create new snapshot mode. This way, a new instance of the snapshot will be created every quarter. Our CFO will be able to travel back in time to a specific quarter, which is a specific snapshot instance, in order to see how the account receivable report looked like back then. Let me take the snapshot concept one step further, okay? How can we merge two standard reports together? Just like I did. From one side, we will take one report and periodically snapshot it using the override last mode. From the other side, we will create an inside Zap creation based on the second report, and we will enrich the second report using the VLOOKUP, the table lookup column type from the first report. Okay. Now I want to talk about snapshot as infrastructure. Okay. The previous example or use case, we merged information between two reports, but in many cases, we have important information that is needed by many reports. Okay. The aggregated master data usually are this type of examples: material consumption report, customer credit line report, and vendor's death report. Okay, so in this case, the infrastructure report could be snapshotted, and quickly all other reports can query them according to their needs. The last thing is external data source. This use case is rarely mentioned. It's a feedback loop from BI or AI systems. So using the snapshot concept, the wisdom gained by BI and AI systems could be propagated back into SAP, making it smarter. We still have time, so I want to spare a few the few next minutes to this topic, because I think it's a very, very important one. What are the relations between inside Zap and BI tools? Are they competing, indifferent, or complementing each other? Let me start by saying that BI tools are amazing, no less. With ETL abilities, the slice and dice, okay, the ability to handle ton loads of data and stunning UI, BI tools are amazing analytical tools. But SAP is operational, and these worlds complement each other. However, I can see many cases and in many places where operational reports are handled at the BI side from all the wrong reasons. They shouldn't be there to start with. Okay, so this group should be done at SAP side, and today it's easy to do that. Second thing, too many analytical reports are coded at the BI side using extractors. This is not the best way to utilize the BI tool's strength. Instead, you should use SAP standard reports. You can enhance them with your Z data, Z tables, in any other way, and then you can share them periodically with the BI tools, okay? And now the BI can do their things. They can merge, slice, and dice, and use the amazing graphics. Last, and this is the point I was aiming at, BI see things from a whole different angle than SAP. It can see wide and afar. If you connect an AI tool to the BI, you may get even smarter, okay? So if you are so smart, you should use this wisdom to send it back to other systems. So if the BI tool foresee optimal sales prices or the best purchasing cost, it should and must send it back, this information, to the SAP business end user, okay? So using the snapshot, if the BI tool will export the data periodically and inside Zap will import and snapshot the information, we can merge it into SAP reports, and the business end users will be able to use the wisdom to do their work better. That's it, Rafi. You can take it from here.
Thank you, Avi. Let me share my screen. And So let's just recapture of what we've seen in this session. We were able to actually, let me just put on my camera so I can all see you. So what we saw is we were able to show you just a pinch of what inside Zap capabilities are. And what we saw today is how you can save time by instantly getting heavy reports on your screen. We saw how Inside Zap enables you to snapshot and store SAP reports and to use the data to create reports and processes. We saw how you can merge reports efficiently and see the data, all the data in one place instead of having multiple screens and multiple systems. At this point, we will be happy to answer any of your questions. Please use the raise your hand or the chat, and we will try to answer any questions that you might have during during the session. Thank you.
Is there a limit to how many records I can run on my snapshot? No, there's no limit. It's SAP. You can limit the size of the snapshots, but there's no limit. Can I share a snapshot with my colleague? Yes, you can. You can share a snapshot just like any ALV report using the export method, but you can schedule it using the publisher, and then you can share it with your colleagues. Any more?
Let me ask you a question. What about the resources? How much resources does the snapshot take? Does it slow the system? Does it slow the? Does it use additional resources?
So first, we save the information in a very efficient way. Okay, that table is saved the data, not in character way. But again, no, you can limit again. You can limit the size you are allowing for this system, but usually when used wisely, no problem, no issues should be placed. Can you download snapshot to MS Excel? Yeah, that was the same question. Like sharing snapshot with colleagues. Okay.
Are you limited to a number of snapshots that you can merge into one screen?
How many? How many snapshots can I use? It's unlimited. It's like database. You can put as many as you like. Like it's a big database, and everything is keyed. So it's going to be as fast as the first. Anyway, if people
there is another question in the where and how is the snapshot data stored? What security policy can be applied?
So it's stored in SAP table, our table with our namespace, but it's SAP table. There's no users cannot reach those tables, and if they can see that, they cannot encrypt it. It's like they have to remember. I talked about doing things in runtime. They have to merge it together. So security-wise, it's more secure than SAP tables. And again, users do not have access to these tables.
Okay. Any more questions?
I think we are good.
Okay, so it's time to wrap up and say thank you. Let me just share my screen and for the last time. At this point, we would like to thank you all for joining us today and for all the questions you've shared with us. We will be happy to hear from you, meet and hear more about what you would like to do with your SAP system and help you do that. If you have any questions later on, if you think about any questions driving to work, just feel free to email me or Avi. We'll be happy to answer you. And you can see the our email addresses on the slide. So by the end of this of the week, we will be uploading this webinar to YouTube, and we'll be sending you the links. If you think this is interesting, we'd really appreciate it if you share this with your colleagues. And at this point, we would like to thank you again for listening, and we hope to see you again in our next webinars. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.